What do you get when oil, monarchy, and unchecked power collide? A $17 million Fifth Avenue building, a Rolls-Royce gliding through a palace courtyard, oil rigs erupting beside luxury villas, $3 billion charity foundations with no audits, a single man whose personal fortune rivaled oil nations, a family empire wrapped in charity foundations, and a secret wealth machine worth over $20 billion, while his people starved. This is the untold story of the Shah of Iran, the man who ruled with gold, jets, and Picasso, until the empire turned on him and made him go on an exile. And if you think his palace was extravagant, wait until you see what he tried to buy after exile. At the time of his death in 1980, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, the last Shah of Iran, was worth an estimated $2 billion. Adjusted for inflation, that's around $7.5 billion today. And that was just his cut. Now add in the full Pahlavi family fortune, sprawling estates, industrial holdings, international real estate, and you're looking at more than $20 billion. That's richer than most oil monarchies at the time. And this wasn't a story of a few palace jewels and a couple of bank accounts. This was a financial empire, built across decades, hidden behind charity walls and foreign investments. It started with his father, Reza Shah, famous for centralizing Iran's power, quietly acquired 830 villages, not acres, villages, over 2.5 million hectares. That's the size of a small country. And in a move so symbolic it borders on satire, he passed it on to his son, Mohammad Reza, in exchange for a single sugar cube. No paperwork, no money, just a cube of sugar, called Haba Kardan. By 1958, the Shah's holdings were already worth over $157 million, with another $100 million quietly parked abroad. But this was just the foundation. Over the next 2 decades, his empire swallowed entire sectors of Iran's economy. 17 banks and insurance firms, 25 mining companies, 45 construction firms, 43 food companies, 26 hotel and trade entities. The Shah didn't just rule the country, he owned it. Mining, he had it. Cement, controlled it. Steel, in the family. Hospitality, 4 major hotels under the royal brand. And unlike other royals, he went beyond stashing his wealth in Switzerland. He built a vehicle so controversial, it would later become the core of multiple lawsuits, a machine that wore the mask of charity, but operated like a $1 billion offshore vault. If you think this story needs to be told, smash that like button to push it through the algorithm, because what you're about to see isn't a conspiracy theory, it's the Pahlavi Foundation, sold as charity, but built like a fortress of gold. 1958. On paper, it looked noble. The Shah of Iran established the Pahlavi Foundation, a charitable trust for the benefit of the Iranian people, a promise to fund education, healthcare, and social reform. But scratch the surface and the foundation starts to look a lot less like a charity and a lot more like a shadow empire. This wasn't a donation. It was domination, disguised. The Pahlavi Foundation was structured like a private holding company, only cloaked in the legal protections of a non-profit. It controlled hundreds of companies, from cement and construction to hotels, mining operations, insurance, and agriculture. It operated both in Iran and abroad. Its twin headquarters, one in Tehran, the other in New York City. How big was it, really? At its peak in the 1970s, the foundation's asset base was estimated at $3 billion, equivalent to over $15 billion today. It owned over 800 villages, multiple luxury resorts on Kish Island, and stakes in over 200 domestic firms. That's not charity, that's a national conglomeration. And yet, it paid no taxes, not in Iran, not in the US, where its American branch was registered as a non-profit charity. Publicly, the Shah claimed he made not a penny from it. Privately, former ministers, insiders, and American court documents painted a different story. Even the U.S. State Department, under Carter, described it as a murky web of wealth, power, and influence. In 1979, the Iranian revolutionary government filed a lawsuit in New York, claiming the foundation was used to siphon off billions in oil revenue and launder them through U.S. properties. One leaked list from Tehran linked the foundation to 207 companies, spanning everything from automotive joint ventures with GM to pencil factories to entertainment firms. Here's the trick. Under the foundation structure, assets couldn't be seized, taxed, or investigated. It was technically owned by the public, yet completely controlled by the monarchy. That's why many called it a royal shield, a financial fortress. And get this, while the Shah told the world he lived modestly, internal court letters revealed plans to use foundation funds to buy a $425 million island in the Bahamas. Yes, he tried to buy an island with charitable money, and when they refused, he simply moved into its most expensive villa. By the late 1970s, Iranian newspapers began to connect the dots. A foundation that owned everything, yet answered to no one. Lavish palaces, foreign real estate, hidden accounts, and all of it under the word charity. But the real damage wasn't just financial. It was the erosion of trust. The foundation became the symbol of corruption, the crown jewel in a monarchy out of touch with its own people. Because when you turn a nation's wealth into a family business, what happens to the people left behind? And that brings us to the next chapter. The cars, the palaces, the impossible lifestyle, paid for by an empire wrapped in gold. The Shah was no ordinary king. He lived like the pharaohs thought too small. While average Iranians lined up for bread, he dined under chandeliers flown in from Paris. While rural villages lacked electricity, his palace bathrooms had gold-plated faucets. Niavaran, Sabadad, the Marble Palace, each more opulent than the last. But Niavaran was the crown jewel. Designed in 1968 with French stylists and Iranian architects, it was a statement, not just wealth, but of invincibility. And yet, this was just one of 17 palaces at the monarchy's disposal. The walls weren't just for mirrors. They were canvases for one of the most extravagant private art collections outside Europe. Pieces worth tens of millions adorned private salons, each a symbol of modernity, sophistication, and a widening gap from the people outside. Did you know that at the time of the revolution, experts valued the Shah's art collection alone at $1 billion, some of which mysteriously vanished during the family's exile? 140 rare cars, Lamborghinis, Ferraris, Maseratis, custom Bugattis. He was beyond a mere car collector. He literally commissioned the first Maserati 5000 GT personally. 2 Ferrari 500 Superfasts, worth millions today. A Mercedes Autobahn Courier, only one of its kind. Even a Panther laser prototype made just for him. And the cost? Inestimable. Many of these cars never touched public roads. They were status symbols, sealed in velvet vaults. Meanwhile, Iran's average household income in 1975 was under $1,000. Then came the jets. While Iranian villages relied on donkey carts, the Shah's skies were filled with Lear jets and Boeing executive aircraft. He didn't just fly, he flew in royal formation. Some jets were custom leased via the Iranian Air Force, military tools dressed as toys. Exiled to the Bahamas in 1979, the Shah made one final move. He offered to buy Paradise Island. Rejected by the Bahamian government, he instead leased multiple oceanfront villas, private chefs, 24-hour security. Even in exile, the empire followed. But here's the paradox. This wasn't just personal indulgence, it was political ammunition. As people starved, his luxury was broadcast. As students vanished in the streets, his art was hung under chandeliers. And every diamond, every palace wing, every engine rev lit the fuse. Because behind the gold gates was something bigger than luxury. A vault. Not of money, but of power, secrecy, and plausible deniability. Next, we open the doors to the vault that fueled the empire. To understand how the Shah stayed rich and why he ultimately fell, you have to follow the oil. Not just barrels, billions, the very blood of the empire, and its poison. In 1951, Iran's Prime Minister, Mohammad Mossadegh, nationalized oil. He wanted Iranian oil for the Iranian people. The West had other plans. 1953, a CIA and M16-backed coup removes Mossadegh. The Shah returns to power and to oil. From then on, petroleum became palace property in everything but name. 2 decades later, the Shah flips the script. In 1973, he canceled the 1954 consortium agreement and handed full control to the National Iranian Oil Company. No more Western middlemen. Iran controls production, pricing, and profit. Did you know that by 1974, oil accounted for 79% of government revenue? In just 5 years, Iran's oil income surged from $2 billion to $17.8 billion. Officially to modernization, unofficially to empires within empires. Every barrel paid for something. A $10 billion military budget, palatial megaprojects, and allegedly secret Swiss accounts controlled by the royal court. Public spending grew, but so did royal spending. For every hospital account opened, another art wing was built in a palace. But the regime didn't just sit on the money, it sprinted. Multi-year plans bankrolled dams across the Karaj, Des, and Sufadred, railroads linking deserts to cities, new highways, seaports, even entire cities, literacy corps expanding rural education, healthcare systems tackling diseases like malaria, and the results were stunning. From 1963 to 1977, real GDP rose 10.5% annually. Non-oil GDP had an 11.5% annual growth. Per capita income soared from $170 to over $2,400, and Iran became a net creditor to the world. Factories churned out cars, 132,000 units in 1977 alone. Appliances flooded middle-class homes. Urbanization surged, 31% to nearly 50% of the population. But here's the paradox. While the country grew rich, it grew angrier. The wealth was real, but so was the inequality. The Shah poured billions into tanks and jets as inflation crushed the working class. And every step forward in modernization became a step backwards in legitimacy. By 1977, rumors swirled. Was the Shah building Iran or building a fortress around his throne? Did you know that some analysts estimated that by 1977, the Pahlavi network, including the royal family and its satellite companies, controlled up to $20 billion? That's nearly 1/4 of Iran's GDP at the time. And yet, the Shah denied it all. "Not a rial of oil money touches me," he once claimed. But then came the inevitable. July 1979. The Shah leaves Tehran. Forever. No more palaces, no more parades, just exile. And the quiet ticking of time, and wealth transfers. He fled first to Egypt, then Morocco, the Bahamas, Mexico, finally back to Egypt, under the protection of Anwar Sadat. But even in exile, the fortune moved faster than the man. Facing terminal cancer and a collapsing empire, he drafted a last will. A fortune once estimated at $2 billion, divided like a blueprint. 20% to Empress Farah, 20% to his eldest son Reza, 15% to each daughter, 20% to younger son Ali Reza. The rest dispersed quietly to cousins, court allies, and foreign accounts. Behind the scenes, a flurry of asset transfers. Gold wired to Europe, artwork sold in Geneva, real estate trust dissolved in the Cayman Islands. From oil king to global nomad, from monarch to guest, from empire to exile.